No, we moved over to the well, I know he has to.
Better than you on this. Thank you for all
Good morning, everyone. Glad y'all can make it. It's 9 o'clock or a little bit thereafter. I'm just going to convene the regular board meeting of Fort Clark Springs, June 21st, 2015. Could we have a roll call? Yes, if Monique can ask.
Who's present?
Right.
Okay. President Roberson,
Present.
Vice President Sweet,
Present.
Secretary Castle,
Present.
Treasurer Hagan,
I'm here.
Director Herman.
Here. We have a quorum. Could we have somebody, would anybody like to volunteer to do our invocation? Ms. Brown?
Lord, we have been so blessed with the rains that you have sent us. And even though we need more, we are asking that you give them to us gently, so as not to flood our areas. And Lord, that we ask that you look down upon this meeting this morning and guide our directors to make decisions that benefit all of us. We ask all of this in Jesus' name.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. I guess, have we got any announcements and correspondence?
I have a letter from Martha Pedron, and it's about the 4th of July request.
Can't hear you.
Excuse me. No wonder.
Turn off the mics.
It's not up, it's just not on me. I have a letter from Martha Pedron on the 4th of July celebration, and I think we might defer that to the discussion that's going to be on the agenda anyway, if that's all right.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I have kind of an announcement to make. We had a large discussion trying to come up with the agenda, and we were in a hurry doing it because of the meeting and the 72-hour notice, and then, of course, we had a little rain too. We made more of a, even though it's kind of a long agenda, it's abbreviated from what some of us would have liked. And due to the information received and talked about in a workshop, there's some future agenda items here that we're trying to get on either workshops or special meetings in the near future so that we can address them but not make it all today. One would be the makeup and addition of ad hoc committees, getting the Fort Clark Springs documents on the website, the common property tax, the foreclosure process, the pool shack and the duck inn, director's comments on the agenda, open records requests, a resolution to amend the bylaws, how the board of directors and the director interact with policies and procedures, the historic buildings property, the gym and adult center, Fort properties, open to members, schedule of events for properties, discussion of the lagoon at Red Bridge. And I think I mentioned at the workshop, I kind of forgot, but everybody else told me I did, mention we got a letter from Ann Watts that was concerned about why we let the water out of the Red Bridge Park and that whole operation. And some comments about the golf committee, and we're gonna address those as we get time here in another meeting. The financial reports, I brushed my teeth and I can't do nothing with my mouth. The Historical Preservation Committee and legal firms. So those are items that we're trying to look forward to address. We just couldn't address them today. Then I guess we're down to reading and approval of the minutes.
I had a few corrections that are typos really, and word usage, so that it makes it more clear, that really don't have to be brought up, and I'll show them to Monique afterwards. Other than that, I have no problems with them.
Could we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes with notification to Monique of just a few minor spelling errors. Except there's a comment under Texas Historical Marker application. When the Lossmore Spring marker arrives, it will be installed on Fort Clark Mud property, and that might be my misunderstanding, but I thought that had already been done. Not? Okay, thank you. All right. Then it's okay.
That's true, but we also had the other one that's involved, so it's confusing. We were talking about two different ones, I think.
Would anybody second that?
I second it. I'm sorry, I should have made a motion. I'll get here eventually.
A vote then to approve the minutes as noted. Vote carries with all in favor. The Director of Operations report.
Good morning. I apologize for my voice today, but I'm a little haggard and worn out. So it might be annoying because I figure since the general request is more details from the Director of Operations, so we might be here for a minute. First off, I want to thank God for the rain, not for the flooding. I also want to say a big thank you to the volunteers that helped out Thursday night. Kenny County Fire Department, EMS, State Troopers, Border Patrol, and the local Sheriff's Department. And then also, last but not least, my staff, our staff. We got a call at 1 o'clock, 1:50 in the morning, and which would have been early Friday morning, that we need to go and start evacuating Unit 1 and notifying. And for about 3 hours, it was nothing but chaos, and we were in water up to our waist. For me, it was up to my chest. And it was scary, more scary than last year's flood, especially for the Unit 1 victims, and also in Unit 25 because they became an island. And just the way that people come together is humbling, and it puts into perspective that we're just a little speck in God's big plan. And knocking on these doors and then trying to figure out how we're going to get these people out of here if just in case the water continued to rise. And which goes back to something that's been on a lot of people's mind is an emergency plan. And it was brought up at the workshop. It's been brought up throughout the past couple of years and probably every year you've been in existence. And that's a very pressing issue, and it's something that we will work hard on to work with the powers that be to have a real plan in place. So just know that that's really on our agenda, and we take that seriously. Because at some point, something major will happen. Earlier that night, you had a tornado warning to take cover. Had that had happened, plus the flash flooding, we would have been in a real pickle. So that's taken very seriously. Also, we'd like to thank our maintenance staff for Friday's cleanup. Philip, if you'll please stand up. This gentleman went on 24 hours with no sleep. He's a volunteer firefighter. He's your maintenance manager. And the amount of cleanup that had to happen yesterday was phenomenal. And that team, which only has a team of 7 yesterday, was able to clean up, get things done, cut trees that had fallen, move them, amongst every other fire that happens on a daily basis, and was able to juggle that and do it. And I think finally he probably went to bed last night at 10:30, something like that. Which brings me into the next segue. Some of these things are a little bit disheartening, and all we hear is be open and more transparent. We are as open and transparent as we possibly can be. But when things happen, especially you think caused by nature, that we should maybe have a little bit more patience. Members are starting to get in staff's faces. There's a couple occurrences yesterday of get over here and do this for maintenance. How come you're not jumping when I say jump? I mean, common sense is we just had a flood. We just had an emergency situation. And we will get to people as we can. And we'll get to situations as we can. And I would just want to remind everybody to let's just have a little bit more patience and work together. I don't think that I've ever been involved in such a community that is almost waiting for us to mess up. And this is not about us against you and you against the right or the left or however it falls. How are we going to come together to be better as a community? How are we going to help each other? It's not about having factions amongst the board and the board against the DO. And the truth of the matter is how are we going to become more consistent? You might not like me. You might not agree with the things that I do. But let's sit down and talk as adults, and let's see how we can come together and make things happen. I can't change I'm a woman. I can't change who I am. But can we put these things aside and figure out how we're going to work together to make this fort better? Everything that I do and my staff do is done to make this run like a business. Not giving privileges to a special few or who screams louder. It's remaining balanced, consistent, and putting our differences aside personally and focus on the betterment of this fort. We have a lot of cleanup. The thing that has been most consistent is the DO turns because of political reasons. This position has always been about politics.
Excuse me for a minute, this is kind of not the time to preach to the audience, but to give the Director of Operations report. And you know, you were doing a great job about explaining what you did yesterday and what everybody did. And people do need to have some forbearance, especially now when the staff is overwhelmed with trying to clean the fort up and get things back. I mean, they spent a lot of time getting people out, making sure they had a place to sleep, keeping them dry and warm. So we need to give the staff a lot of forbearance for the next little bit here, especially. because
And you're
they have
all
a big-
tired, you're all tired. And boy, do I feel it for you.
Okay.
Do you have more maybe in your report?
Yep, I do. You wanted open and transparency. That's gonna take me a minute. So part of that open and transparency is your financials. There's a lot of clout around this, which is, okay. What I have done is put together a 6-year comparison of all of your audits to show and highlight the discrepancies over the years, the highs and the lows, for you to be able to follow a trend. And with that open and transparency, I was just merely trying to hit on some of these rumors that continue to be brought up and given to me by certain directors. So there is nothing to hide, absolutely nothing to hide when it comes to your financials. There's a lot of rumors out there, which is a complete political game.
You wanna wait? Okay.
I'm gonna turn the light off. What you're looking at is a total income. These are your financial reports that have been audited. And since it's a 6-year comparison, you obviously have changed auditing firms. From 2008 to 2012, it was the auditing firm out of Del Rio. 2013 was our new auditor out of San Angelo. Obviously, blue is 2008, red is 2009, green is 2010, purple is 2011, aqua 2012, and orange is 2013. I provided this for you guys since we do have budget coming up. I'll give you any more information as financials as you guys need, but I pretty much broke it down so you can start studying that over the next couple of months. Income is up and down. And as running a company, obviously consistency is the key. You can see it's not consistent. Total expenses that reported in the audit. This is the overall P&L. Obviously, you took a big hit in 2011. 2013, we took another negative of $55,000. 2012, let's pay attention to the positive of $139,000. That was the year of that levy. And then I'm breaking it down per department. That was the golf income reported in the audit. You can see the trend of going down. 2013 came up a little bit. Obviously, the goal is to get back to that reported audit in 2008 of an income of $175,000. There's the golf expense. $2013 golf expense went up substantially. Part of that was remodel, raise in payroll. We had a drought, so we paid for a lot of water. We're gonna get into the golf P&L. Obviously, you can see that trend of increasing in a loss. Next is the motel income. Pretty good jump. You still had the rollover from the wind farm, our workers staying at the motel. Next is the motel expenses. Again, some of the things that point out to me are in 2010 and 2011 on your income, they were lower, but your expenses were higher, which kind of doesn't make sense. 2013, you had your highest amount of revenue, but our expenses dropped dramatically. Motel P&L, obviously the profit was good. Next is RV income. And I'm just going to point out here, just for it's logical. RV park is the most profitable business. Your expenses are pretty much low. Income can be high, so long as a lot of marketing should be focused on that in the 2015 budgeted year. It is your most money maker. I'm sure a lot of you already know that, but it's just proven. Your motel it's expensive to run, so your profit is not as much as it can be for RV. RV expenses. Overall, the expenses were down. And there's the RV profit, which even though in 2012 it brought in more revenue, we had less expenses, therefore the profit margin was higher. Next is recreation income. Recreation consists of swimming pool, adult center, and teen center. Recreation income dropped dramatically in 2013. Some of that is attributed to not as many teens going to the teen center.
Do we have any idea why?
When I look at the books when you start drilling down into the minuteness of it, I don't know if more population or attendance is down compared to previous years at the teen center. Like teen
Are
center,
there other places they're going? It seems like that would be popular.
kids are getting older. Your basic it's from 7-year-olds and to maybe 12-year-olds that go there.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking teens.
No, actually, a lot of teens don't go there. No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
So they're just getting older and it's not as fun. It's fun for the younger kids.
It's not cool anymore.
Right. So you'll see recreation expenses went up. A lot of that is attributed to payroll. Payroll taxes have gone up. Electricity has gone up. And you start diving into the reasons. Recreation profit and loss for 2013, it lost $59,000, which is a huge increase in loss since 2012. Some of 2013 where we bought the treadmills, that was only roughly $4,300. And we bought the AC in 2013. The next slide is bank totals. And I really put this more so on here for the directors. But I'll share with the whole audience. This is your actual cash flow, and this is from October until May. These are all of your accounts. So far for the fiscal year, we haven't dropped below $500,000 in the bank account. Yes, your impound fund is increasing because we haven't had to pull out of the impound fund to dig more cells at the landfill, which was averaging every 13 to 14 months of digging, which the last bill on that one was $160,000, which the directors will be, when you look at the impound fund and your breakdown, that leaves you money to start thinking about how to invest into your buildings for capital improvement. So I went ahead and put together the bank statements from 2013 bank total cash flow. You can see where September of last year took a hit, that's going to take a hit again this year. So be aware of this as we have our workshops on budget, because we do the $50,000 deductible payout or down payment for the insurance. That's in September. October, we pay the property taxes. And then here were your bank totals for 2012. Which those should have been some really scary times for the association. The next slide, what I've done is put together the comparisons year to date, which is an 8-month comparison for 2014, 2013, 2012, and year to date budget. Admin expenses, this is the breakdown from admin expenses just from our office standpoint. You'll see another slide here in a second that says total admin expenses, which consist of admin, security, and maintenance. So the first column there is 2014 year to date. Second column is 2013 year to date. Third column is 2012 year to date, and then obviously budget. Same thing for admin income. Our income has dropped. I've explained this in the past where our billing cycles, the whole inactive moving memberships that obviously you're not going to get your money for, you haven't been getting payment nor payment plan. So based when we were doing the budget before, we thought we were actually doing the $90,000 a month, when really we're getting to a more actual number. 72 is about the average. And you can see where I budgeted $1.2 million for income. I also thought that we would get more of that solar farm roll-off into our motel and also in our RV park, and that did not happen. They did their own housing. You have some of them here, but not really. Maintenance expense. You see the budget, or is it 290? We didn't buy some of the equipment that we had projected because money has not allowed it to. There have not been any big ticket items in any department's BOD just because it hasn't been affordable. Security expense has gone up just a little bit. It's been that way for a while since we added that extra person in security. And again, a lot of this stuff is going to be attributed to payroll did go up. Those of you who haven't been partaking in board meetings or watching, it has been highlighted before that when I came in, people were grossly underpaid, still at minimum wage after being here for 10 years. So across the board, you'll see payroll has gone up. And not only that, payroll taxes have gone up. Here's the part where it's total admin expenses. So between admin, maintenance, and security, there's a pretty big drop there. And then obviously there's a big drop in total admin income. The next slide is the P&L for the three. Between the three, you're operating currently at a negative $49,000. If you see where they were positive in 2012 at $235,000, that was attributed to the levy. And on the budget's going to be off because I didn't put in there depreciation expense and bad debt expense.
Right, I calculated those back in because they weren't on some of them where, you know, that helps it.
Right.
It changes the numbers.
Right. Next is the pro shop income. It's down from what was projected. Again, there's been a lot of inconsistencies, staff turnover. I am confident we have the right person in place. So those numbers should keep coming up because when you focus in on the past 2 months that pro shop manager has been in play, the numbers have changed. Pro shop expense down compared to 2013. Golf maintenance expense, this department continues to do amazing job when it comes to spending. It's a major drop. Then there's your golf P&L. It's at a negative $45,000 after 8 months. Now, remember per the audit, it lost $110,000. We've got roughly 4 more months left in the fiscal year. And the way we're operating currently, if we stay on point, we should only hit about maybe a negative $80,000. I don't know, I mean, the rain helps, so we don't have to buy water. It's just gonna help out dramatically.
That helps if you say it fast. At 80, you know, even at 40,000, that's a lot of money. We just gotta work on that somehow. I don't know how. I mean, but we've, you know, you've got expenses in different places and, you know, the board needs to look over some things like that and just figure out why we're doing that. I don't know.
Well, just keep this number here that's a negative $45,000 because there's some things that we'll point out later. Next is motel income. You'll see motel expenses are up because we spent that $35,000 on remodeling Patton, which is also going to affect the P&L. RV park income. Expenses down, and income up. We've been fortunate for the past couple of months because you had the railroad people staying there, also some of the people from the solar farm. RV P&L. So far profit is $104,000. Next is recreation income. On the budget, you see $17,000 there, which was, I thought we'd already have the other gym up and running. Obviously, that's all on hold. Recreation expenses are up. We've been averaging about $1,500 to $1,600 a month in electricity. Next is recreation P&L. It's at a negative $36,000. The only thing I'm going to point out is your golf course is at a negative $46,000. What was it, 46, 45,000?
45.
45,000. Yes, that business can be turned around. Golf course will never make money. Obviously, recreation will never make money. But the amenities that you have when recreation comes is that they're kind of deplorable. Yes, we should focus on putting some TLC in the adult center. But that's going to cost money. Where's it going to come from? Total revenue year to date, all departments. And total expenses. On the expense here, I didn't have a chance to go and change that budget. It's actually a 1.6 million is what was projected to be this time. And then your operating P&L for an 8-month period. So year to date, we're at a negative $8,602. Again, the budget's going to be off because I didn't put depreciation and bad debt expense in that. Next slide, and break it down even further for you. This is 2014 monthly comparisons, October through May. The purple on the end represents year-to-date totals. And then admin expenses. As we go through this, you got 2 months. The month of May, we had 3 payrolls, and the month of November, we had 3 payrolls. There's your maintenance expense year to date. October, November, December. As we go through these, looking for consistencies, which is good. Months where you have some spikes, it's either due to payroll, There's some expenses that happened in the month of May. We had to pay the franchise tax, which is $14,000, so you have a little bit of spike there as well. There's admin total expenses, that's with maintenance, security, and admin. You can see that jump in May where it's $161,000 spent out. Next is pro shop income and pro shop expenses. You have it spiked there in January because that's when most of the annual golfers pay for their annual membership. The expenses have been pretty stable. There's the golf maintenance expenses. And then golf total, which is pro shop and maintenance and expenses. And then the golf P&L. Next is the motel income and motel expenses. You see that jump in November? That's obviously when we paid for the remodel. And motel P&L for the different months.
What happened in November? Was that when we were working on the motel or?
Yes.
Okay.
RV income. When you break this down and look at the trend month to month from 2013 and 2012, obviously we're doing pretty good in the summer months, which we really have to focus majority of our marketing on RV. And the RV P&L for the different months. Recreation income. And recreation P&L. And recreation expense is going to go up a little bit more due to the fact that we finally got our lifeguards. It was a little bit of a slow process because nobody was signing up to work. And as well as as of today, for 4 weeks, we are keeping the adult center open on Saturdays from 8 until 5. Overall income and overall expenses. And the overall P&L. And also keep in mind, some of the things that we're gonna have to focus on and some of the issues that await us as you board guide this ship. We have to get health insurance. I budgeted for $70,000 to be allocated for that this year. We have been talking to different agencies, getting bids. If you don't have health insurance or offer health insurance by January 1st, 2015, you pay approximately $2,000 fine per employee. Somehow that has to be fit in there, just to offer. We can dive into those details more. Keep in mind, in 2 years, as we talk to the insurance agent, he'll be coming down in the next couple of months to talk to you guys. But there have been no lawsuits, but I think some of you will remember when he did come in, that we were dropped from a couple of carriers because of the high liability. And out of 24 people that, or companies that he went and did bids for, only 4 would play and give us bids back. So let's keep that in mind. Everything that has been done thus far to run like a business, accountability for us not to always hold liability in buildings when they're rented out. Contracts have been written and signed, and I think you guys have given you that information, and we can get into that in future workshops. But there you have it. And as we move forward in the budgeting process, we can dive even deeper into details.
Yeah, we need to work on our budget and make sure the line items correlate more to each other, so there's not a big loss or big gain from the line item in the budget, and adjust it accordingly.
We'll get into that. I mean, even when I put in I didn't know when we would be doing exactly a motel renovation, or exactly.
No, there's some things there that should have been probably addressed as capital projects, but
Sure.
we can work on that.
I guess one more thing, I guess you asked me to put on the agenda or my deal report was maybe the possibility of explaining the RV park electricity. Is that correct? I read that email?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. Garcia addressed this at the community council meeting, and I would just have him come up and address it in front of the Fort Clark membership.
Okay, so what's the question we have?
Everybody, the board wanted to know, we should have been told when the power was out. And I guess one leg burned out or something on it, I don't know.
Yes, sir.
And maintenance fixed it.
Yes, sir.
That was, well, I think what the question was how come we didn't know before maintenance told us or something?
There, I guess I'll answer that. I get calls whenever anything goes down, from a battery not working in a smoke detector to the whole leg going out on that. We had an electrician come out and look at it. I also spoke with you and asked what's the legal things to do on it, our debts and all that. Being that it's a private property, we didn't need to have a licensed electrician to come out. We did have REA come out. We had 811 locator come out, located our lines. We went our 18 inches deep. We put a sand bed, 2-inch conduit, sealed each conduit in, ran it up, we got power. There's not gonna be any liabilities in it. It's ran by Kurt Parlow, which was a electrician for the Air Force. He knows what he's doing with electricity. He's the guy that I have doing all our electricity. If it came to be a point like with the amphitheater, I'm gonna have an electrician come in and do that. It's just a mess. And whoever put it in the beginning obviously wasn't licensed. We all know that by looking at it. So the power's up and running. There's no issues. Saved us a little over $3,000. Anything else?
Is Mr. Parkville currently licensed?
No, he's not licensed. But we don't need to be licensed on private property.
I beg your pardon. You have to have a licensed electrician, working under a master electrician, holding a license with yearly updates on their license.
That was a concern of mine, and when I had talked to Rio Grande Electric, they assured me that that was not, because we're on private property, and it's anything under their box, we didn't have to be licensed. And this is Rio Grande Electric. I'm not an electrician. But when I ask the people that we get electricity power from, and they tell me that, well, I take that as what's right.
Did the director of Rio Grande Electric tell you that, holding the master license itself?
I didn't ask you for his credentials. But these are people that hang our electricity and our power here, so if we can trust them with that, why would I not trust them with what he has to
Because
say?
power utility companies don't come under the National Electric Code.
That's kind of, I mean,
Okay.
we should have, I think state law requires probably that we should. However, I think Phil did the right thing, and I trust Phil's work. I mean, if he couldn't have done it, he wouldn't have done it, I'm sure, because he talked to me about it. I think the only question I had about it was how come we didn't hear from admin that the power was out at the RV park?
It happened at 8 o'clock that night, and then the two directors that do, which, if I'm communicating to two directors, I think that it should be communicated across the board. I wasn't in front of my computer when I got the call that night, but everything was handled. We moved people who didn't want to stay there because they didn't have
No,
power.
I didn't mean at that
Right.
moment, just in the, we didn't, I don't think the rest of the directors heard about it till later on. I don't know when you talked to any one director, and just because we had a flood or had the power go out, the rest of the board doesn't need to know it then, it needs to be handled. However, in the ensuing 24, 48 hours, it would have been nice for the director of operations to send all the directors a note, or one of them to tell the rest of them if you weren't available to get on a computer or something to that effect. I think that was the question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks. Any questions over the Director of Operations report or comments, or is that it, or? I think the chart is a good thing. It may be a little bit much to look at every one of them, but it's good for the directors to have. I mean, that's a great tool to work on, and we can start seeing where there's spikes and balances and how to work on that.
I agree. It's a good tool.
Committee and organization reports?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
Yes.
Who did this?
I did.
You did the colors and all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Committee and organization reports, architectural.
During the last month, we had 8 requests for a building permit. A representative was there to answer questions. They were in compliance with CCNRs, and they were all approved. We had one letter sent out reminding a person that their permit was about to expire. That's the whole thing.
Thank you. Golf committee?
Well, we did not have a golf committee meeting this month, but we did participate, some of the members of the golf committee helped participate in a clinic for the youth. It was a 3-day clinic. We had a total of 12 kids on 2 days and 13 on 1 day. It was well received. The kids learned a lot, but they were really enthusiastic about golf, which if we can get the youth involved in the golf, and that's going to help the golf course undoubtedly. But Stan and Lisa Conley actually put this together, and they've done a great job with only advertising starting on Wednesday. We had the 12 kids start on Monday with that golf clinic, and it was a great thing to see the kids so enthusiastic. And you can see all those pictures on Facebook at Fort Clark/Bracketville Golf.
Preservation? Community council?
Allison was unable to attend, so she asked one of the board members to read her report from community council. And it was written on June 14. Actually, it's about the June 14th meeting, and it was transmitted on the 21st. Good morning, FCSA Board of Directors. I'm not sure anyone from Community Council will be able to attend this morning's meeting, so I'm sending a report. If one of you could read it, that would be great. The PDF file is the same as what I've written in the body of the email. Community Council met last Saturday, June 14th. Directors Bill Herman and Roby Roberson attended our meeting. Helena McBride reported that we awarded 2 $500 scholarships to graduating seniors, and these were presented at the BISD awards ceremony. We discussed the Historical Building Repairs and Restoration Committee and its current status of trying to get board approval. Although not required by our bylaws or previous historical building R&R bylaws, we voted in Debbie Isaacs and Phyllis Giblin as our 2 representatives on the committee. It should be noted Debbie Isaacs has been on the committee for a number of years. We also determined that Fort Clark Day's monies would not be distributed to the committee until the board resolution was in place. Should the committee need money before that time, they can come to FCSS Community Council and we will write out a check for them. Should the board decide to dissolve the current restoration bank account and return all funds to the impound fund, FCSCC requests our last year's donation of $8,936.40 be returned to FCSCC to keep in a separate account for building restoration and repairs. We were able to announce the adult center hours for the summer would remain the same as the winter hours, and starting today for the next 4 Saturdays, the adult center would remain open until 5 p.m. We appreciate the Director of Operations and the Recreation Manager working out a schedule to better accommodate the membership. We hope folks will take advantage of the increased hours during the Saturday afternoon trial period. Insurance for Fort Clark Days was discussed, and members present voted to pursue developing a more formal partnership with FCSA for Fort Clark Days. The membership is concerned about possible tax ramification for Community Council if we partner with FCSA, so this is being looked into. A preliminary vote for, quote, for insurance for this year's event is $2,500 and would include New Year's Eve, Valentine's Day, and the chili cook-off. The Cannon and Gatling gun folks would also be able to attend the festival in 2015. This is about $1,000 cheaper than last year, than this year. Event insurance is a requirement regardless of who sponsors Fort Clark Days. At least 3 members present volunteered to be coordinators of several committees. In the meantime, we have a need for about 10 more coordinators for various committees. If you would like to volunteer for a committee, please contact Norma Rowland, Helena McBride, or Allison Watkinson. Philip Garcia was our guest speaker. He was well received by the members present. He spoke about completed, ongoing, and future projects. He also talked about work orders and what work might require members to pay a fee. He answered questions from members. We appreciate Phil's willingness to attend the meeting. We think his presence helped a lot with communication and rumor control. Although our meeting was lengthy, about 2 hours, it was a positive and productive meeting. Thank you, Allison Watkinson, President, Fort Clark Springs Community Council.
Thank you. Recycling?
We should be sending out another truckload sometime this week. So recycling is going well. We do need some more volunteers, a couple of behind-the-scenes people, if you will. People who can operate a forklift, make gaylords on days that recycle is not open. We have to do these after hours, so to speak. So we can use some help in that respect. But there's a truckload going out sometime this week.
Thank you.
Will you please rinse your beer cans and your soda cans, because they draw insects, and those of us who work there have a really hard time being chased by insects. So please rinse them.
Okay, on to our agenda items. Would the board mind if we took them out of order a little bit? The reason being the USGS people, we may have a lengthy discussion on all these things, and do we want to address the USGS people and let them leave, or does the
I
board
think
have
that
a-
would be courteous.
Okay, then our first item will be discussion approval, placement of the USGS water flow measurement device. Do I have a motion to?
Motion to what?
A motion to
discuss.
A motion to address that issue, that item.
Are they here?
Yes. Would you like us to speak first?
I make a motion that we hear from them, the groundwater people then.
Hi, second.
All in favor?
I'd like to also note though that someone is here from this 4th of July. And she is from the
Okay.
What was that?
Then somebody is here from the fire.
Oh, good.
All those in favor? Unanimous with the USGS people?
Thank you, and I'm actually Peggy Sue Postel. I'm with the Kinney County Groundwater Conservation District. I am the president of our board of directors. We are working in conjunction with USGS. And let me explain to you why we are involved in this. And again, thank you for allowing us to make this presentation to you today. I don't know if y'all are aware, but the groundwater district, we do a yearly management plan. Well, it's actually a 5-year plan. This is required by our governing bodies, which is the Texas Water Development Board and TCEQ, which I know y'all are familiar with TCEQ. In this, we have what are called our DFCs. There are 2 for our groundwater conservation district. The first one is a well that is up to Tularosa Road. Can you hear me?
Well, you might tell people that don't know what a DFC is.
Oh, that's desired future conditions. Our second desired future conditions is Lost Morris Springs flow. This is what we use to monitor how well we're doing our job. These numbers are what the state looks at. It was chosen because Lost Morris Spring flow is very important to all of the community, not just Fort Clark. You know, it's important for the wildlife here. It affects so many areas. Our concern at this time is that in our management plan, our desired future conditions for those, an annual average flow of 23.9 cubic feet per second with a median flow of 24.4 cubic feet per second. We do monitor this monthly with USGS, and our current flows for about, well, at least the past year, the median flow has been monitored only as 2.08 cubic feet per second. Now, we work closely with our hydrogeologist, a water specialist. His name is Dr. Bill Hutchison, and unfortunately, he was not able to be here with us today. He previously worked for the State Water Development Board, and also he's now an independent contractor, but does work for the state of Texas. We have had him and his associate, Mr. Jim Burton from EcoCai, who is the science guy, who does all the well monitoring, all the stream monitoring in multiple states, California, Texas, Hawaii. He came, they assessed the situation, did determine that we are not getting to capture all of the flow because of the diversion from the pool, and we are not getting accurate readings. And we are about to embark, we've approved a new study of scientific data so we can move forward with better scientific data for this area, for the county, for protecting Lost Morris Spring flow, Pinto Creek Spring flow. And we're going to be investing a good deal of the district's money in this project over the next couple of years. And it is important, we feel, to have good, accurate data. One of these reasons also for having good, accurate data is in the event of lawsuits or the state coming to us and asking us for data, we really need something that's accurate. And so to better explain the actual gauge itself and what needs to be done to address this, I will hand you over to Mr. Mark Knoll and Mr. Mike Nyman from USGS. again, thank you for having us. So does anybody have any questions for me before we go to USGS?
You might, am I incorrect or not in understanding that the DFCs are where it sets trigger points, right, for water conservation and things like that?
Yes.
And that's, you want to make sure the spring is one of the things, so they set a point, and you might explain that, or maybe everybody knows.
Yes, does everybody know that? Our DFC is 24, roughly 24 cubic feet a second. What flow we're measuring now, which we're not capturing the flow from the pool that's diverted because of where the gauge is in the spillway, our flow is only reading at 2.08 median. So it's down, and we know we're in a drought, but there is more flow that is just honestly not being gauged. It's just being missed. And we really need accurate numbers. Anything else? Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to these gentlemen.
Good morning, board members. My name is Mark Null. I'm the office chief for our South Texas Program Office with the U.S. Geological Survey out of San Antonio. I work with the Texas Water Science. A little bit higher than her. I work under the Texas Water Science Center. With me, I have Mike Nyman, who's our data chief. He runs our data operations across South Texas. We run about, USGS out of our office runs about 160 of these gauge sites across South Texas. And a little bit about us, USGS, we are non-regulatory, we're non-biased, we're a science agency for the federal government. So what we provide and the gauging information is being used by, in this case, Kenny County Groundwater District, Texas Water Development Board, to understand, the DFCs, and really to understand their water budget here for Kenny County, which is very important. So where is our play? We're the instrumentation people. We put the equipment in there, and we ensure that we are collecting, every bit of quality data from those sites. For this particular site, there's been changes in operations at the pool, I guess over the last few years, where we don't capture, we're not measuring stage of the complete flow coming out of the system there, which is, you have a channel that's concrete, and that's where our gauge is, but there's also flow coming out of the pool. What we'd like to do, and we also take measurements along the little reach beyond between the, where it inflows into the river channel out to the bridge. So we do take measurements there, but what happens is the accuracy of the data, trying to relate it to where we measure with our gauge is there's some inaccuracies here. What we'd like to do is locate that gauge down channel, in the main stem, or really probably preferably on the bridge, like we do most of our sites. And that way we would measure the actual combined flow in one spot. So that's what the proposal would be, just to move it so we can get more accurate data.
Why did they ever decide to put it where they did? That looks like a poor spot.
I don't know what, actually, I think he was around then.
I actually installed that gauge a long time ago.
It still seemed like it was only catching half the spring flow.
No, well, originally, we put that in 2003, and I was straight out of college then, only 5 years out of college. When we put that in, all of the flow, except for on Thursdays, went through that channel. And Thursdays, they would flush the pool, divert all that water through there, clean it all out, and then, so we would only miss data on the one day. They didn't want us to put it in the river for whatever reason. I think it was because it was easier for us to put it on the channel. And that's why if you look at the staff plate, it's angled, so we have to apply a correction to it every time we go out and make a measurement also. So ideally, if we moved it downstream, put it on or near the bridge, you're going to get better measurements coming out of the spring, because then we can directly relate the stage measurement with the discharge the physical discharge measurement that we make. So if you don't know, there's all that's in there is a pressure transducer.
I would agree that it would be better. It looks to me like it would be hard to put it in the creek without putting a post of some sort in there, a permanent, something that you're gonna have to disturb the creek a little bit to get it in there with. It looks like it'd be better if you could, was your plan on hanging it off the bridge?
Generally what we'll do is pour a small pad, and have you seen the gauge over there?
Yeah, but I haven't got any draw. I mean, I remember it's over there, I don't.
It's a small shelter, it's about that wide and about that tall, and all we need is a small footprint to put it on. And what
The typical installation would look like is you'd have that structure away from the creek, and then just a single pipe that runs down into the creek bottom. And we try to go above where the control would be, you know, natural control of rocks where we'll have a pool, and then we just measure that elevation of water. And then when we make a measurement, we develop a rating curve to tie in that elevation of water to that amount of water that's moving through there. So, and right now y'all have a key below base, which means that our rating curve stops at about 100 CFS. And with this event that y'all just had, you know, I just looked at it, y'all had 8 inches of rain at the gauge there by the pool, and it came up 4.5 feet. So you got to 91 cubic feet per second moving through there. So moving downstream a little bit, we pick up a little bit more of the water that's coming off of the, you know, everything that's below the springs. We get that also during the event.
Would that thing be skewed in any way because of some of the drainage coming out of town?
Only if it's above, or if it's between where the spring flow comes into the channel and, you know, below the pool and the bridge. Anything that comes off, I guess you've got the officer mess hall or the old O Club. Anything in that area that goes off would affect that gauge, yes.
I thought there was a
creek that comes in.
There's a small drainage that's probably got, it's a natural creek bed.
Yeah, there's a little trickle come there, yeah, and I agree. There's some that we're not, you know, we're gonna be accounting for some other that's coming through. But it would be a better set of data than we're getting at.
I was just worried about the minimal invasiveness on the creek bank and the whole thing. I was thinking you might hang it off the bridge, but you're gonna pour a monitoring station pad on one side of the creek and run a horizontal pipe out there some way or another?
Yes, we could put in a non-contact radar, which would mount on your bridge, and then it's just a radar unit that shoots down and sends it back up. We get a little noisier. They don't give you as tight a resolution as a pressure transducer that's actually installed in the creek.
Opinions from the board or what? I think you should have it in there. I just don't want to make a wash out in the bank somewhere.
Where would be this, what's this, you know, you said near the bridge, where would you be putting, because they have to have access under that bridge, obviously, on both sides of the creek, so
ideally
you'd be sitting away from the bridge some distance.
For the shelter?
Yeah, but you're gonna put up the pad that you're gonna have to pour and put on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be typically, you know, near the apron off the side, you would put a pad, and then we'd run the conduit down, you know, down to the creek bed from there. So we'd need to go take a real detailed look and see the exact location, and we'd have our drawings. Typically, we do this with, of course, we have these all over the state and all over the nation, but we have to have an engineering drawing. Typically, we furnish to the, you know, if it's text dot, they have to prove it typically. So what we would do is draw that up and have an exact location that, you know, that your public works can.
That's the same thing you have over at Pinto Creek?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that's the agreement we have with text dot.
But I've seen, you can see it, I guess the antenna, you can see off the highway. I don't know about the building itself so much. I haven't paid attention, I'm driving, but I know it's there.
Yes.
And this won't violate any TCEQ environmental problems with the creek or anything like that as far as wildlife or riparian area?
We work with TCQ quite a bit. I mean, this have never been a factor for us
Okay.
in the past.
It's logical, so.
And then you would take the one out that's up there now?
Yes.
Out of the loop, if you will.
Out of the loop, yes.
I'm all for letting you move it. I just kind of would like to
Know where.
see a little bit of it, what the drone's gonna look like or something. I don't know exactly. I was thinking the one down there is a vertical rod, isn't there? Or is it horizontal across the?
At the channel?
Yeah.
I think it just goes right down the channel bed into the bottom loop.
Okay, right. I personally think you should move it. I mean, you should get it out of there for sure, so it measures the whole spring flow. What is the board, what?
Well, again, I would think that, like you said, we'd like to see kind of what it's gonna look like and basically give us an idea of the site so we can tell, you know, see what it's gonna do.
We can do that. We can give you a couple options, and, you know, I guess really having, you know, the direction that we can at least do a reconnaissance of maybe 2 options. One, either in between the bridge and where it is now, and we'll come up with a proposed site, and we'll show you what it'll look like. Or the second option would be on the bridge, which will be, I say on the bridge, will be attached to it. And so we'll have pictures of each of those.
Does this need satellite, so it needs line of sight, basically? I mean, it can't be under the trees, in other words.
That's correct. And that's one of the limitations with that. It has to have line of sight with the satellite. It reports out every hour, it's sending information up, and it's obviously, 24/7 with that operation.
How soon do you have, I mean, what kind of a time rush are you in to do that? I mean, I don't want to hold you up. I don't want the board to hold you up, but also the board wants to know what's going on.
We've actually been wanting to do this it's been several years, and obviously working with the groundwater district, and just recently this has come up. It's something that we can put in our operations and move it. I mean, this will be forward at USGS expense, obviously, to do that. So really, once we get the approvals, we'll it's at your leisure to get it approved, and we can move on it.
So you could provide like a diagram, location on the creek and what it's gonna look like to us, and then we can take a look at it and see which way we
Yes,
wanna go.
ma'am.
All right. I mean, obviously the most accurate way, if you're gonna move it at all, you might as well use the most accurate way of measuring. But that way we can picture it, because I'm trying to picture it, but really can't, so. If you could present that to us, is it timely enough to
That's what I was trying to get. Are you guys going to do it next week, or in 3 months, or before fall, or what is your?
I'd like to get someone over here to make measurements and find the ideal space for it, and then we can take photos, give you those measurements, get them all drawn up, and
Well,
send it that way.
if we approve you doing that, but with reservations of seeing the drawings, when would you have drawings available? When, could we just look at them next month, or what time frame would that put you in a wreck on?
Yeah, we can make that. I've got guys going down to Laredo soon, and they can probably swing by here and take some photos and measurements.
Well, or in 2 months, I don't,
Okay.
what's your?
I'd like to get it in.
Right now, yeah, we were just, we were working with Peggy, and
Right.
I don't know what her time crunch is. Again, we don't, it's really to satisfy their needs right now, but.
Right. It would be nice to have it within a couple of months. We're starting our new project with Dr. Hutchison within the next month or so. But, if we can get it before fall, that'd be great.
I think what we were asking
July.
is would you put this together by our next board meeting, which would be the third Saturday of July?
Third Saturday.
A month from now, basically.
Yeah.
To present to us so we can
The
get final
drawings
approval,
and
just
all.
the
The drawings,
drawings and all
right.
that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
we can do that.
Because that way we could deal with it the next board meeting and then
Right.
get out of your
Yeah, no,
way.
we can do that. We can submit it to you beforehand too, if you want to review
Sure.
prior to the meeting, and then if there's any other questions, we can address them there.
Yeah, I would think that.
Then we could put it on the next month's
Yeah.
agenda
If
and.
we can get it like in 3 months, 3 weeks, so we can do something on the 4th week.
Right.
Then we put on the next month's agenda and then, assuming all's well, and we could get out of your way and we'll get it done.
Yeah, even if you just emailed the director of operations or dropped off or something, and we could look at it and then have it ready for approval.
Absolutely.
Will that suit your needs?
That would be fine, yes.
Okay. Works for me.
Just a quick note, we actually looking over through the data set yesterday. Interesting to note, we've been recording, we collected data back in 1895, that site, USGS has. Pretty amazing. So there's some old data coming back there.
Wow.
More water then, I bet, than now.
I'm not gonna say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll just put this on hold until we get the information and then go forward.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we, pertinent, or pursuant to the discussion, that the USGS will get photos, a description, drawings of where and what this particular gauge will look like, get it to us before the next meeting. We'll let- And then, yeah, and then we'll table actual approval of the project until the next board meeting. And I
Second.
still move.
Had a vote? Unanimous, all directors voted to table this and get information from USGS to be approved at the next meeting, or something like that. I guess our next item for discussion and approval would be the 4th of July celebration.
And who's here for?
I have a letter from Martha Padron, and I just assumed she did the presentation herself.
Can I give you I have to give you one from last year. What we wrote through. What we had for this year, that's last year, just to give you an idea. Oh. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Jody, I'm making make sure I'll give you one after. I'll give you a few minutes to read that letter. Or specifically on the third paragraph of that last letter I just gave you from last year, February 7th.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I was asking the board of directors if they'd read that letter, the third paragraph of the letter I just gave you from
Stand on
February.
your toes, pull it
Thank you. On the third paragraph, it reads, well, I'll read want me to read the whole letter? That's you. Last year's letter was, thank you for the essential role your generosity played in the overwhelming success of last year's community 4th of July parade and fireworks display. We are building upon last year's accomplishments and making every effort to seek support from our community organization and our treasured individual patrons. For the past 6 years, Fort Clark Springs Association has been so considerate and generous in donating free use of the empty saddle butcher block for our patriotic program. And that years past, we had it at the swim park for them. And then we use the amphitheater for a free movie night and the service club for the 4th of July luncheon. And we also have equipment, employees would help us out setting up, tearing down, and they allowed us to use the chairs and the creekside for the fireworks display at no cost to our committee. And there's your valued participation in the community event is critical to its success, which will help make America's birthday a precious memory for the citizens of this community. I was just thanking you in advance for your anticipated participation in this exciting event. And that's pretty much the same that I requested this year on the letter you have that's in red paper. Because we're a nonprofit organization and we do not have the funds to pay for use of any venue. And, oh yes, please.
How do you pay for the fireworks?
Donations. They're all donations, yes.
From businesses, from?
And individuals, yes ma'am, in the community. And a lot of them are from veterans because they really enjoy this event. And years back, the way it started, when we first started, Mr. Hahn was in the committee as well. Fort Clark Springs Association would make a donation for the fireworks. They did a big donation, monetary donation for that. So then we met one day and we decided, or they decided, that instead of that, they would make a donation in lieu of a monetary donation. They would allow us to use the venues, whether it's a swim park, pavilion, the service club, Creekside, any venue that we would need to use. And that's how it's been in the past. And last year when we met, Jody and I and Jennifer at the time was working there. The end result was, well,
a topic that came up was liability insurance, which we don't have that. We're all volunteers, we're all go on donations and fireworks. So Jody stressed that Fort Clark would sponsor it, so we would fall under their umbrella insurance. So then that's how the event went on. And this year, of course, I sent the same letter again, and then also, if you'll notice, the day after the 4th of July last year, I submitted this letter so we could reserve it. And of course, I hadn't had a response, so that's why I think this item is on the agenda. And my request is to allow us to use these venues free of charge. This is a very important event for the community, for our veterans. And it would be a great idea possibly to have a resolution in place for any military holiday honoring our veterans. It's very important. We have our freedom because of our veterans, and there's several veterans. There's several veterans in the audience. And we have this event as well for all the staff. Matt Bland, security, traffic control, local law enforcement, in farm rescue. Judge Massengale recently advised that they're greatly supported again. Fire and Rescue will be there as well to help us during the fireworks display. And they stay there till they're all gone, till everyone's gone. And members of the community, my husband and I stay there to make sure all the trash is picked up and the maintenance. They've always provided barrels. So we all do our part. We have several members of the community that help as well. Debbie has helped with the program. Mr. York with the trailer for the program, for the stage. The maids have provided the sheets for the stage, for Mr. York's trailer. So there's so many people that take part in this. Like Mr. Herman said, you know, work behind the scenes. There's so many people that work behind the scenes that you're not even advised of. So that's why I'm here. And as Jerry said, sometimes there's negative rumors going around, you know, that I'm dragging my feet, I haven't done anything, but I work behind the scenes. I work behind the scenes, and at times, as several of you know that serve on committees, you don't have to be there at every meeting to get things done. You can delegate. You delegate or you take suggestions, and I'm all for suggestions. Any changes need to be made, the time of the day of the parade. I'm open for suggestions and volunteers. So if anyone wants to make a change, that's fine. I'm okay, but please step up to the plate and offer your time and services. The more the merrier.
We're pretty late getting this going. I understand that you need liability coverage, but have you planned for anything specific on the fort that
Yes, ma'am. Well, the parade is already in place, you know, the plan. I've already contacted local law enforcement, and actually also the city of Brackettville will be meeting to hopefully pass a waiver for golf carts to participate in the parade, where they could drive down Ann Street and participate in the parade, because there is a ordinance in place that doesn't allow them to do that on the main street. So, as far as being late, this is as far as approaching the board, but I'm already working on things. And
no, that's not my point. My point is how, if you're doing it here, how far into the planning are you? And I don't want to have us put it together in a mess, you know. It sounds like you've done a lot.
Yes,
What
ma'am,
do you-
everything's in.
Specifically, what are you asking for besides the, you know, you covered several venues. I'd like to hear specifically. I know you're asking for the empty saddle area. Secondly, what?
Yes, ma'am. Specifically that, to allow us to have our program here on Fort Clark Springs for the community as we have in the past, to use the butcher block, to allow us to drive into Fort Clark Springs with all our golf carts and all our floats, to have our venue there at the butcher block. Have a program there at no charge.
Usually there are Fort Clark Springs people in the parade. Are they doing that this year?
Yes, ma'am. And actually, people want to sign up. And you really don't even have to sign up. You don't have to pay a fee. You just show up. And it usually happens. And we have had about 50 to 60 entries without even registering prior.
You've
People
an-
get excited.
You've answered my question. I know you're excited too.
Yes, ma'am, I'm very excited. This is very-
I need you to focus and tell us specifically what you're asking for so we can decide to vote or not vote.
Yes, ma'am.
What
specifically
specific
asking?
activities do you want to hold on the fort? I know the fireworks.
Well, first it starts with the parade. The parade starts at the high school on Ann Street in East Fulton. And we drive down Ann Street, and you come into 4 O'Clock Springs, and the parade, and that's when Matt Bland and his staff and local law enforcement assist us with traffic control. Because it takes a lot of, help with that. So as soon as it ends, and we're gonna have a program, patriotic program at the Butcher Block, and that's what we're asking. Can we use that venue free of charge to have a patriotic program for our veterans?
And you said something about food.
Yes, ma'am. And Jan can tell you a little bit about that. She's on the Frontier Christmas Committee about the vendors. Jan, do you want to say a few words about that? We're gonna have that.
Yes, last year we had a few vendors, and I don't know if we're going to have very many vendors this year because it's late, and we couldn't put out any information until we got the okay that we could go ahead with this. So, depending on what y'all decide today as to whether we will get some vendors for it, and this is the Frontier Christmas.
The fundraisers for the Frontier Christmas. And there is a vendor, well, not a vendor, but the 4-H Club. They sell hamburgers after the event. So that's a fundraiser for them. And they've always been part of the program. The 4th of July committee, in conjunction with our committee, to have a fundraiser for them. So what I'm asking for is the program, to use the venue, the Butcher Block and the
I'm also
Creekside.
asking, what,
The Butcher Block and Creekside for the fireworks.
gotcha. Where are you asking for a place to feed everybody or just?
It's all there.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. In years past, we used to use the service club. We don't need to use that anymore. And also, we provide porta potties. So, one time, we asked to use the community council building chapter hall, but that's not necessary. We can provide the porta potties. So, the only thing we use just the Butcher Block and the Creekside, and then if maintenance could provide some carols for the trash and whatever it needs for the stage.
Okay, you have the entertainment, I assume, already lined up for the Butcher Block?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And you're talking about food booths?
That's what Jan was talking about,
All right.
as far as the Frontier Christmas. If you'd rather not have that.
Oh, no, I was just, you're talking about booths.
Yes,
individual
ma'am.
booths. Okay.
Yes.
There'll be booths for kids' activities and also for food and then creative type jewelry and stuff like that, candles.
Yes, it would allow us to have that as well.
Possibly a problem for that now, not that I don't want you to have them, I think you should have a bunch, but I don't know if we can get electricity and, I don't know if we can get services at this point in time, I don't know. We have to find, do they bring their own electricity or do we have to provide it?
Rio Grande Electric did it all last year.
Yes, they said it. Rio Grande
I mean,
Electric.
it may be hard for them to get out here and get electric.
No, they didn't have a problem last year.
Oh, okay.
They take care of all that. Rio Grande Electric does. If you would
So
allow
that's
it.
their volunteer portion
Yes,
of
ma'am.
things.
They volunteer to do that. So all that's taken care of. It's ready to roll. We just need permission.
So basically, what you're asking for is permission to use the creek area for fireworks.
Yes, ma'am.
The Butcher Block area for your program.
Patriotic program, and that same area for the vendors.
Right, for the vendors to set up, and the fort's contribution would be to allow you to use that property and to provide assistance from the maintenance department for setting up and tearing down. And
Just the
cleaning
chairs,
up
yes,
at the
ma'am.
end.
Yes, ma'am. And they've been very helpful in the past.
So, but does that summarize what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And one other thing I'd like to mention, the little trailer they have for veterans, Phil Garcia drove that yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm so excited. Last year. The little trailer they have in maintenance for the veterans, for those that would like to ride on the float, that do not have any other way of participating in the parade, that as well. Yes, ma'am.
And the chairs you mentioned earlier, I don't think you mentioned this then.
Yeah.
The whole thing that I think in the back of everybody's mind, and I think Joey's already touched on it in terms of looking at budget problems, is that it's an insurance deal. How, you know, the vendor insurance has come up, and that's part of what this problem is. How do we solve that problem?
A waiver, you can have a waiver in place of liability. And we can have them be required to sign one if they choose not
Yeah.
to. then-
I understand that, but it still means the Ford has to pay for the liability. And at this point, I think, public relation wise, that we ought to do it this year. If there is a problem in the future, then we should discuss it then.
Oh, that's a great idea, just saying.
And we're not trying to avoid anything, and some of you think I'm a little overly cautious, but after spending 38 years in the insurance industry, it's well earned. Because we do have some significant exposure, food exposure, just people being on board. But again, I think it's a little late. Next year, I think we really need to discuss
Yes, ma'am, I agree.
liability
Yes.
insurance, because you're asking, although not everybody would assume that Ford is responsible, there are always people looking for a way.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is something that we already have a difficult time finding insurance because of our liability potential here on Ford. So
I see.
we're not disrespecting you. We really
Oh,
want
no,
this to
ma'am.
happen.
Yes, ma'am.
But we just want you and everyone else to understand that it is a serious discussion that we have to have, at least for next year.
Yes, ma'am, and that would be great immediately after the event, maybe the following week, we can start working on it early on.
And we might even find volunteers who are willing to pay for event insurance as their contribution.
Yes, ma'am, that's true.
Do we have an idea how much event insurance is? What that roundabout numbers?
No, I don't. Jody, do you have any?
It would just depend on, I mean, when you put fireworks in it, I don't know. I mean, if you have an event at the service club and somebody's doing a dinner gala, that's maybe $150. But when you start putting fireworks into it, that's why community council had to partner up with us, because that event insurance with the cannon, you didn't have a cannon shooting off this past year. It was just another layer of liability. We can ask our insurance agent to see how much this would be. In all fairness, when we sat down last year, I said, we'll go ahead and do as, I'll talk to the board, we'll go ahead and do as we did in the past, but come the fiscal year, we were gonna require event insurance. And this is the pickle that we're now in, is because community council went and spent roughly $3,000 on event insurance for Fort Clark days, and 60% of Fort Clark days goes back into Fort Clark. So now you're in this thing where it's like, how do you be fair? I mean, golf tournaments that happen, they get event insurance, because if it's not something that we're doing our own golf tournament or an event for ourselves, then that's our liability. But event insurance is a common thing. It's not that everybody has a great cause of what they do and why they're doing whatever they're doing. We're selling burgers for 4-H, or vendor, for Kenny County Christmas, Frontier Christmas. It's all good, but you're playing with
Fire.
And where do we get, have we had event insurance in the past, or we never did, or we just?
You never did, you never required, you basically assumed all responsibility. And for thinking the Lucky Stars, nothing major really ever happened. However, you were playing with roulette. I think probably the fair thing to do would for me to call Warren, see how much this would cost, get a number on that, and then somebody in the community or collectively, we pay for that event insurance for the event to happen on 4th of July.
Mr. Hahn, you got?
Possible solution. All the sites that Martha is talking about are in the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city of Brackettville. Someone should look into the city of Brackettville underwriting the event for insurance. It's a community event. It involves volunteer fire department, it involves the community.
Right.
The entire historic district is in the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city of Brackettville. They could police over here if they knew that. Someone needs to approach the city of Brackettville. Will you underwrite the liability for this event?
We can ask, right? You can ask.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If we could, I mean, that's a very good idea, Mr. Ron. It's a source, and so is the other idea of getting the cost of insurance and then having the community maybe make
And that-
contributions. I would be happy
Yes,
to.
ma'am.
Being from the insurance
And that would be
industry,
for
it would
next
be a
year,
good
correct?
donation for me to make, so,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am. And that for next year, okay. And I would do, I'll start
Well,
working.
even for this year, I think we can approach the city to see.
Well, the city, they already have a meeting scheduled Monday, so we can't put it on that agenda. And they don't meet until after the 4th of July. And the commissioners don't meet until the middle of July.
Well, could we ask, possibly ask our insurance agent to see what the cost would be, and then perhaps we can get some donations to help defray the cost.
Do you want to include all that in one motion with the approval of it, or how do we?
Well, I think we need to move on it right away, because they have to keep.
That's what I mean, just the whole.
But I would say that this would be Fort Clark Springs' donation to the festival would be the, provision of all of this land and maintenance, and can we put a value on that for tax purposes? As a donation?
Did you guys have your 501c3?
Yeah, not a committee.
Then no, we couldn't do
Okay.
the tax.
We may need two motions, one to go ahead and the other to try to find places to get the money.
I would move that we approve,
And due to the time limitations, and speaking for the Frontier Christmas, we don't have time to get vendors, so just take the vendors out of it.
Okay, well, for last year was the first time I think we had them anyway.
Right.
And they weren't there for, very long.
The 4-H club will be there, and they will be selling hamburgers as a fundraiser for them.
Okay, I guess we're gonna divide this into, that's what he's asking me. Okay, my first motion would be to authorize Jody Stevens to contact Warren to see what the cost of event insurance would be as an investigative motion. Okay, and pending that, we can decide whether it would warrant getting donations to pay for it. So that would be, I would do that first, just as for the investigation part of it, get that out of the way.
Couldn't smooth that out, could you?
Yes, I will. I will move that we authorize Jody to check with our insurance agent, with Warren, to see what the actual cost would be of event insurance for this type of a thing. And once we have that response, we can look at that and see whether or not we want to go ahead late and get volunteers to pay for it. So I move that we authorize Jody to contact Warren to get at least the cost of event insurance.
I second that one.
Excuse me,
all in favor?
I have a comment. And do we get approval to use?
There's two
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? The motion carries unanimously.
You want me to do the second one?
Somebody has to.
I make a motion to authorize the 4th of July committee to use the venue that we have discussed today. Is that enough?
And to clarify, that's Creekside and
And
Empty
Butcher Block.
Saddle, Butcher Block.
Yeah, Empty Butcher Block, yes.
Are you amending my motion? I accept that.
Just clarifying it.
Yes.
All right, I will second that motion.
All in favor of allowing the 4th of July celebration to be held on the fort?
Thank you so
Motion
much.
carries unanimously. And our next item would be the $2,500 donation to the Kenny County Fire Department. Hey, that's the case, we'll give them the money later.
Yeah.
You know where to go and get that.
We have a letter from them, right?
Yeah, we've got a Kenny County Fire and Rescue, I guess I'll read it. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your annual donation On behalf of the Kenny County Fire and Rescue Department, your support is always and most appreciated. Your donation of $2,500 has made it possible to purchase fire apparatus and has allowed continuous fire training. Again, we look forward to your generous support and appreciate the working relationship that has grown and prospered. Sincerely, Kenny County Fire Chief Tim Ward.
Has that been a history of yearly or semi-annual? Yearly.
Well, I will make the motion to continue the tradition of donating $2,500 yearly to the Kenny County Fire and Rescue. Never know when we might need one.
I second the motion.
And then when do we write them a check this month, next month? How do they, as soon as possible?
We have the funds covered.
Any more discussion?
The funds come out of what?
Your general fund.
General fund. Is that budgeted?
It was budgeted for the under donations, if you look at the budget.
Any other discussion? All in favor? The motion carries unanimously to donate $2,500 to the Kenny County Fire and Rescue Department. The next item would be a AC unit for the Fort Clark Springs main lobby. It looks like we have to replace a 2 4-ton air conditioner with electric heat systems in the admin office. The systems have a 5-year compressor and a 5-year parts warranty. There's an optional 10-year parts and labor warranty available for an additional $850 per system. The first bid is $10,283.75. The second one is $6,960, and the third bid is $6,200 even. The last 2 units were Rude, and the first one was Carrier.
What's the difference between the two routes, do you know?
We need a kind of a motion to.
Okay, I'll move that we open discussion for replacement of the HVAC system and administration.
Really, and not say no. We don't need that quibble, but we don't open it for discussion. We have to approve it, and then we have discussion.
Well, I'm moving for discussion and possible approval. How's that? All right, I will amend my motion to open for discussion and possible approval of replacement of the air conditioning system in administration.
Second.
Thank you. Thought it was gonna follow.
All in favor? Carries unanimously. And you had a question, Marta?
I did. I wanted to know the difference between the second bid and the third bid. Are they different? Are they from a different?
It's probably a different maker.
That's right. They're the same makers.
Philip is not here who discussed this with the 3
Probably
different.
needs sleep on that.
No, he had to go fix something at the restaurant.
Do you know who the vendors are for these?
I do, but I don't know if it's in my packet.
I don't know that it matters.
The last one's not in here, so we just received that one.
Do you know if the first bid is for 2 units?
Both of them for 2 units. All 3 of them are for 2 units.
So, okay, so 2 carrier units. That's a big, that's a huge difference, that first one. Was that a local bidder?
Very expensive.
Yeah.
2 of them are from Del Rio. I think one was from Uvalde.
So the second bid and the third bid would be from maybe 2 different vendors, but the same machine.
They'd be for 2 different contractors with the same vendor.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
They'd all 3 be from different contractors, and then their supplier would be whoever they chose to
Okay,
use. with.
that's what I wanted to know.
yeah, that's the way it looks to me.
Well, carrier has a tendency to be a little more expensive than the.
Well, Climate Master was your lowest bid, and that's complete installation, of two 410 refrigerant split systems, 15 kilowatt electric heat kits, 13 SEER rated system, 5-year request warranty, 1-year parts and labor warranty. That's the $6,200 bid.
And they're from
Del Rio.
Del Rio. And the other one?
I don't have the other two with me. It's in the office.
But this isn't installed, I guess, completely installed?
Yes,
All of them?
yes.
Okay.
If you want to wait, Philip is on his way. He'll be here in a few minutes.
Well, I think that would be helpful to me.
Yeah.
Would we like to table this for a minute and work on something else, or just wait? What's a few, I mean,
I would like to work on a 5-minute break is what I would
Yeah.
like to do.
I second the motion.
all in favor? It would appear we're gonna have a 5-minute break.